Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is a show. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm here today with my BookTube uncle and good friend
Yes.
John Minton. How you doing?
I'm good, Britton. How are you, my BookTube nephew?
I'm doing pretty good. I thought since I saw Philip Chase talk about music and storytelling with Nikhil
Mm-hmm.
of um, Shelf Esteem fame, I'm
Yes.
like, well, how about I one up Doctor Fantasy
Okay, first of
by
all, I don't think I'm as talented or as impressive as
well,
Nicky at
well,
all.
well. Hold on.
Okay.
I wanted to do the acting and storytelling conversation before Philip Chase was bumbling around. It's like, oh, John's an actor. I should do something about this. So,
Oh, I see.
haha, take that,
Haha.
Doctor Fantasy. I got there first.
Way to go. Way to go.
He
All
would
right.
probably get a lot more views than I would. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to talk about acting with you today because for a long time you were an actor or even a
That is
member
true.
of SAG, if I remember correctly. I think you
This
told me
that
that.
this is true as well. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I on Monday I went to go see the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie,
I
One
hear it's
Battle
really
After
good.
Another. Um, because I didn't have class that night and because personal reasons for my teacher, but I'm like, well, I've been wanting to see this film. I got to go see it. I've never seen a Paul Thomas Anderson film in
Really?
theaters. In theaters, I should say.
Oh, in theaters.
I've
Okay.
seen a good many of his films. And then I rewatched my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, There Will Be Blood,
Oh, that's mine
and
too. I was just gonna say.
yeah.
Yes.
See,
It is
I knew
amazing.
we got along for some reason,
Oh,
but
that movie rocks. Yeah.
and I'm like, and I was, it has one of my favorite performances of all time in that movie. So I'm like, it got me in the right mood to talk about acting and storytelling. So that really worked out well for me.
Yeah, there's several amazing performances in that flick.
Yeah, I know. I mean, not to like go off topic here, even though we're talking about acting. Paul Dano, man, he gets kind of a not a bad rep, but he doesn't really get talked about as much. Like he really like he went toe to toe with Daniel Day
Yeah.
Lewis, and he was really good in that movie.
I mean, you got to figure you're in the ring with like the heavyweight. You got to be swimming as hard as you possibly can for the shore just to keep up. And Paul Dano did it. Like he looked like he was there and belonged and every bit as present as Daniel Day-Lewis. That's like a huge feat, man. Like there were amazing performances galore in that flick.
Yeah, no, it's just a great movie. I was actually again I was rewatching it the other night, and there's a scene where because of the negligent business practices, we'll say, of Daniel Plainview, one of his guys gets killed by a I don't know what it was, but every time I watch that and I see it drop on the guy, I cringe. Still,
Yeah.
it's anyway. Um, ugh. But yeah, so like I said, watching that again kind of put me in the mood to talk about like acting and like its
Let's do it.
relation to storytelling
I will
because
have as many answers as I can possibly make up.
well, it's good you say that because I did want this video to be somewhat structured. I mean, we'll probably filibuster because I know you like to talk and I like to talk too, so it's okay. But I wanted to keep this somewhat structured with some questions. I kind of was thinking about this for a minute. I even used Grok, so thank you, Grok.
Oh wow.
Wanted to thank
Okay.
Grok, but but well, it got like uber specific, and I'm like, well, this is a little too specific to acting. I wanted to talk about like how it relates to storytelling particularly. So yeah. Anyway, um, but yeah, I guess I'll get with the like first kind of questions, which are more personal, I guess. Which
Okay. Hit me.
which are two questions really in one, but bear with me.
Mhm.
Which one is what made you want to be an actor, and like what is your approach to acting? Which I have an idea on this because
Mhm.
I don't really see you being Daniel Day Lewis going full method, but you could surprise
Yeah.
me.
No.
But
I won't
what are
surprise
your
you.
answers to these two questions?
Um I you know what? I think I wanted to be I can remember moments when I was really young and I was watching a movie with my dad. I was watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I was watching Jack Nicholson's performance. And I was probably way too young to be watching this.
I was about to say,
But
that's probably one of my favorite performances from Nicholson too, because it's not him
oh
just playing the weirdo.
no, it was perfect for him. He just inhabited it. And I was watching how that performance and that overall film, that piece of art affected my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I wanted to be able to understand and affect my dad in that way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I and did not have the greatest history of doing that, even going much later into my life. And I think that was the first moment I was like, oh, my dad loves story. My dad loves Shakespeare. My dad loves this. I think I'll love this too. And I don't know how I stumbled onto this, honestly. I was like a Texas kid from a tiny Texas town that it's not like I went to school in LA and stuff, and this was a career that made sense in any shape of the way. It didn't make sense to my family, didn't make sense to my surroundings, didn't make sense to me. But I don't know, just something about the way my dad loved stories and I saw how they affected him, and I wanted to be a storyteller, and I was just blown away by these performances that I was watching, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'll tell stories like that. That's what I wanna do.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I remember I heard your conversation you had with Sam a while back, a few weeks ago, I think, and you mentioned your dad, and I'm like, why didn't you write a book about that? That sounds really interesting. A Shakespeare quoting cowboy, like that sounds
Oh,
like that could be a good story, you know?
my dad is quite the character, yeah, he filled a lot of space. I will just say that, yeah.
But like what is? But I am curious to know like what was or what is slash was your approach to acting? You know when you've
Oh,
done it.
okay, yeah,
Can
when I was
can you
kinda.
like can you slip in and out without too much hassle, or do you like to prepare a little bit, or does it not really matter to you?
Yeah, I'm like what you would call kind of a lunch pail actor. Like I show up and punch the clock and go to work. Like I
I
don't.
had a feeling you were because
Yeah,
you have that like real natural from like what little I've seen anyway. You have that kind of like natural like you could just do it without like
yeah.
too much hassle.
I, well, who knows if it's good or not? But I don't. I was trained a very certain way, and I was trained by. I mean, I can get in the weeds a little bit here if you want me to. It kind of answers the question of why I structure and why I do the things I do the way I do them. I was kind of trained by. I'm sure you've heard of Chekhov and his plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I know
Well,
of them. I've not actually. I want to read Chekhov at some point. I just
oh,
haven't
you
gotten
totally
around to it
should.
yet.
You totally should. So when that was happening, kind of performance was changing. It was no longer kind of very stylistic, and you would strike a pose and you would orate in a way. It started to become audiences were
It
looking
wasn't
through a
Shakespearean. Is what you're getting
right.
at.
Audiences were looking through a window into people's lives, and it should
Mm-hmm.
be performed in such that you would recognize reactions and moments and things, and it would draw you in, and you would become part of that. That's the way Chekhov was writing. That's the way his contemporaries were writing of that time. That's the
Mm-hmm.
way drama was changing. We've gone from Greek to to where to some real different types of performances now. Actors had not been trained like that in the past to do that kind of thing. So there was an acting teacher in Russia. His name was Mikhail Chekhov, and he started training
Mm.
actors and
Was he related
creating.
to Anton, or
I don't
was it
believe.
just a coincidence?
I think it was just a coincidence. I'm not 100% sure, but he started training people. Um, and he was one of the actors that did a bunch of Chekhov, and he started training people, and he started training people basically in like in your classic Stanislavski method,
Mm-hmm.
which is and it's everyone says method gets like a bad connotation, like, oh, you're going to be woo, but there's some method to anything. There's a method to fishing, there's a method to whatever. So he started training people to be able to naturally perform, so people could think, your audience could feel like you're just looking in a window to lives and live it with them. So I was trained by the last surviving member of Mikhail Chekhov's final class.
Huh. That must have been
So
weird.
that's my
I bet he was like this.
tie-in.
I bet he was like this seasoned master, you know.
He no.
No?
No, he was not at all.
Or was he just like, or would he just kind of go, or was he just kind of like, all right, do the thing?
Yeah,
And then you
a
just
lot
do
like
it?
that. A lot like that. He trained us the way Mikhail, at the time that I was training under him, it was him and Yul Brynner were the last two members of Mikhail Chekhov's final class.
Mm-hmm.
They were the last two members that were tied into this method that had actually been taught by Mikhail Chekhov. And then Yul Brynner passed away. And my teacher, little Jimmy Harrell from Waco, Texas. And
that must have been fun,
and
fellow Texan.
Yes. And this was at Southwest Texas State University at the time. I took every class I could from little Jimmy because I found out where he had been trained, and I wanted to be tied into that, and I wanted to have a piece of that. And I followed him around, took every class I could, and it was all about having your instrument ready, your physicality ready to perform, taking care of it. He would always tell you things like, be good to your donkey, which would mean your beast of burden, treat it well so it's ready to go. You're not ill, you're not sick, you're in good physical shape to whatever is called upon the script to do, you're able to do. So you physically take care of yourself, and then you basically you don't necessarily create another character, create another being, but you basically use kind of like a magic what if, and you put yourself in the situation. So what you're bringing is an entire life that you've lived. I've been through situations like this, and if I haven't, I can kind of put myself into it enough to where I can interpret it to a point where I can trick myself into living it. You're giving yourself permission to play like we all did as children, because we all went outside and played cowboys and detective and Star Trek, or whatever we did with our friends, right? We all play acted. So what you're doing is you're giving yourself permission to play act. You're having your instrument ready, and you're just assuming that magic what if I was in this situation, how would I respond? How could I look at this? How would I react? What would this mean to me? What would I want to get out of this scene? And then you start piecing together the interpretations of it, starting with objective and stimulus and reaction. And, then you start using those kind of things, and you just start putting it together. But if you show up and you're ready, you're physically ready, you're mentally ready because you've memorized the text or whatever it is you need to do. And you've opened yourself mentally and emotionally to the magic what if of what the scene's calling for you to. That's the prep that we are called to do in my training. That's the prep we're called to do. Then we show up and we see what that other actor brings, and we basically react off of that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that, because that reminds me of I read an anecdote the other day about Alfred Hitchcock, who is well known for, you wouldn't call him an actor's director, I would say. He was kind of just like all right, you do this thing and then go away, basically. And then there was one actress who asked him, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? What's my motivation? And he yelled something like, you want to make a lot of money. That's your motivation.
That's so true. Look, directing is an art form.
Oh yeah, it is.
But particularly in cinema, directing is it is a technical, artistic endeavor.
But I've also heard that to be a good director, to be a great director, you have to understand acting at least a little bit.
You have to understand casting to be a great director. You have to understand human nature. If you cast really well and you understand human nature, I have to hire an actor to be this character. And I'm going to audition until I find someone that basically is that person. And I see the spark and I see that person, and I'm going to hire that person. And I make sure before I hire that person, they're a professional. They're going to show up with the text done, physically ready, emotionally ready, mentally ready, open to whatever the scene requires. they're going to show up and do their work and have their job. They're not going to ask me what my motivation. They're going to show up. They're going to bring a motivation. Your job as an actor is just to show up ready and to bring ideas. You better have a choice. You're never going to get hired if you don't have a choice. This is the thing that blows me away. In all of my study of theater, and there's years of it, no one ever took the time to really teach me how to audition. And there's no way to get work.
Can that be taught?
Absolutely, it can be taught.
Okay, I thought you were going to say no.
No, there's so many little things to it. You want to come in with all those things prepared, like I said, right? You usually get sides early, so you want to have the text very, very close to memorized. But here's the trick: don't look like it's memorized. Look down every once in a while, even if you don't need to, because then the person casting is going to think, oh man, they're this good and they're still on book. Can you imagine what they'll be like when they're totally memorized? There's little steps you can do. There's little tricks you can do that grab somebody and fill space and let them feel you can inhabit this role. There's little things you can do. No one ever spent the time to teach me how to do those things. And there are absolutely quite a few of them. And number one is come in with a choice. Make a choice. Here's my script. Here's how I'm going to interpret it. I'm going to come in and make a choice. And if it's a bold choice that no one else makes, even better.
Yeah, that's kind of funny you say that. It kind of reminds me of another anecdote. I'm trying not to get too distracted here, but it kind of reminds me, The Sopranos. James Gandolfini played Tony Soprano brilliantly.
Yes.
And there was a story that Michael Imperioli, who played Chris in the show, shared when in the first episode they have that confrontation at the end of the episode where he's like, I could go to Hollywood and whatever, yada yada, and apparently originally it was going to be like Gandolfini was going to be like, or Tony was going to be like, you don't want to do that. But then Gandolfini just decided, I'm just going to grab this dude and get in his face. And that's kind of when David Chase and crew were like, that's the dude right there.
Yeah. Yeah. You make a choice, you make a bold choice, you fill space, and you come in with enough confidence to fully commit to whatever choice you're making. Because if you make a choice and it's bold and you come in and you don't fully commit, then you're going to suffer from what my acting teachers used to like to call inflation, which means your choice is here. You're doing something that's this bold. It's up here, but your commitment might be around here. This is how much you're really believing what you're doing and really committed to what you're doing and committed to your choice. So this space between you and the choice is inflation. It's not full. So that's you got to have a bold choice. You got to make a choice. Better be bold. You better be completely committed to it.
That's a good point. I guess that's kind of where the best performances come from, is when they're fully commitment. All in. Yeah. Yeah.
Commitment is big. It's like when you basically get caught acting, which is like the cardinal sin, right? Like you don't ever want to get caught. I don't ever want to get caught acting. I don't ever want it.
You want it to be believable.
That's it. And I don't want to get caught trying to show you how you should feel, or show you, if I do this, you'll know how I feel. And that's just me acting. It's not me really feeling anything.
Looks like you had bad food there.
Right? It's me doing something to show you how I feel, or maybe make you understand how I feel. It's not me really feeling anything. That's that lack of commitment. If you were really committed, you would truly feel it. You would be in the scene and feel it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I guess that's kind of the best performances, I guess, come from people where it just looks like they're not even trying, I guess, for lack of a better word, because they are so committed.
Yeah, sometimes that's it. I mean, they just inhabit the role. You believe they're listening to their scene partner, and every reaction they have to the stimulus of because your scene partner is going to have an objective that they want, and it's going to be diametrically opposed to what it is you want. So they're going to go for what they want. You're going to want something different. You're going to have to react to how they go for it. You're going to have to go how you want something different, because you're not getting what you want. And then it's just completely, it's tactical, topping each other, trying different types of scenarios to maybe this will work if I do this. Maybe this will work if he does that. Well, I'm going to react like this because he came back with that. And it's just, it's just listening and reacting once you hit a certain point.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I
So those
mean,
people look real. They're living in it because all they're doing is listening to their screen partner and reacting off of what they do.
I did some acting back when I was in middle school. I was kind of too much of a candy ass to really put myself out there. Sadly, not a walking charisma bomb like you are.
No, no, not at
uh,
all. No, I'm
and
not. I am not a walking bomb of any kind.
but yeah, but I have done some acting, and I kind of remember in high school, I'm like, damn, why didn't I do that more? Like that, I actually had fun doing that.
It is the
It wasn't
most
like
fun.
choir where like I like singing, but it kind of felt stressful. Like it didn't feel stressful when I would do the acting.
When you do it right, right? It
Yeah.
feels like that there's nothing like it in the world. When it hits and you do it right, that's the thing that I would chase over and over again. If I would have like those gleaming moments, it's like, oh man, I nailed that. And normally that thought would pop into my head and it would take me out of the scene and it would be a fleeting moment. And then you spend years chasing it and trying to get it again, you know? So
Hmm.
that's the, that's the wheel you're on.
Yeah, that actually leads me to the well, it's second question. But it's kind of the third question because I asked you two questions in the one, but this is where we get a little more cerebral, if we will.
Oh, I
But
try
it's
and keep up with you, man.
kind of the money question, if you will. What is acting's role in storytelling, in your opinion? Of course.
I mean, like I was saying, it's all story. Every single,
Hmm.
it. So many people ask me, like you asked us, I think, when you talked to me, Amy, and Jacob, like, how could you guys write a book, all three of you? And quite honestly, like I wouldn't know any other way to be a part of it or do it because my entire existence has been based on creatively working collaboratively with a bunch of people.
Well,
So
I asked that because like it's hard enough because I've written a book and it was very hard enough being by myself, but like having
right.
two other people to do it with, like that would be like you would think that would be like I would think it would be easy at first, but that would be like too. It would be more stressful for me because like
It,
what's this other guy gonna do?
yeah. I mean, you find your strengths, and it's just like when you're doing a show and you're telling a story. It starts with the words, right? The words
Hmm.
are everything. All the words are on the page. It's like putting a shelf together. You've got all the directions to do it.
Hmm.
If you have questions, just go back and look at the words. The answer's there.
Hmm.
But the interpretation of those words, even though those words are there,
Hmm.
my interpretation of it, because I bring a life to it, I could take this line and say it any number of ways that make people feel differently or make that other actor in the scene with me react differently because I'm putting enough topspin on it. I can be sarcastic. I can change inflection. I can change rhythms. I can change all these kind of things can change an entire meaning of a line. Here's the line. What's that in the road ahead? Means one thing, right?
Uh
What if I said, what's that in the road? Ahead?
huh.
Exact same words,
Yeah.
means a completely different thing. So you start with the words, and the actors are going to come in and interpret it and start playing with it and playing with so many different ways in rehearsal and see what feels right and what they think tells the story that the writer wanted to tell. And then in theater, your director is there to interpret it with you. You can talk about motivation, you can talk about all those esoteric things with a theater director.
Uh
That's
huh.
their job too, with the lights and the staging and the blocking and all that kind of technical stuff. But
Hmm.
they're there for the actor as well, right?
Hmm.
Now, in film, it's a different story. A lot of times, the director is there far more in a technical aspect because there's so many moving parts in film, in
Yeah.
television and film.
Yeah. It's That's kind of funny you say that. That actually reminds me of again. I'm probably going to quote a bunch of people in this, so and I'm sure you might quote some people in this, but kind of reminds me of something Quentin Tarantino said when he was making Reservoir Dogs. One of the people who was in it was a guy named Edward Bunker, who he's the old guy. He plays Mr. Blue, and
Mm-hmm.
he liked to say the face, or what he said was the face is the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't really need like which to me that, kind of goes back to, kind of David Mamet's idea of backstory is bullshit, as he would put it.
I'm a Mamet actor. I love so
Yeah.
much of what Mamet says, because you will find actors that spend, and I've worked with some of them. They're phenomenally talented and amazing people, and they turn in amazing performances. And they will bring in pages and pages and pages and pages of notebooks of where I was and what I was thinking before I walked on stage. And, you know, my training has always been, if I need that, it's in the stage directions. If I walk on drunk, it'll say something right there.
Yeah.
I am very much tied into the words have all the answers. Always go back to the script. That's where all the answers are. If you can spend time writing all that backstory and stuff, but here's the thing. That's a lot of work that you're putting down on paper and you're creating, and maybe you get a thrill from creating it. But let me ask you a question. When you walk on stage, is the audience going to be able to, through your performance, understand all that backstory you wrote?
Probably not.
Probably not. The audience is going to get what's on the page. The audience is going to get what the story is,
what they
the
see.
script is.
Yeah.
Right. So I would rather spend my time into taking each and every line, word by word, line by line. Where do I want my rhythms? Where do I want my inflections? What am I trying to say? Getting all that down pat. I say it so many different ways through the rehearsal. I say it's up so many different possibilities and ways. I say all that. I throw everything. And then when I get it down to where it's just completely second nature, you think of nothing. You don't prepare it. I'm not going to say it a certain way. It's going to be different every night, depending on what that partner comes in and brings, and depending on what the audience brings. The audience is another huge part of it, because they'll laugh at one point one night and not the next night. So that's, you're going to ride those rhythms too.
Yeah, I thought I had a feeling you would enjoy me mentioning David Mamet, because I know you like David Mamet quite a bit.
I love David Mamet. This is what Mamet said that basically is the backbone of my entire life. David Mamet wrote, I'm trying to remember, I think the book might be even called On Acting. And in it, he says, you can go to college, you can get a bachelor's, you can get a master's, you can go to conservatory like Juilliard, or, pick one. If you spend all that time building a theater company and just doing play after play after play after play, you will become a better actor much faster from doing the work than chasing the study.
This might be a
I'm
wild
paraphrasing.
This
I'm
might be a wild
horribly.
Conspiracy theory, but is that the reason why you started your own theater company?
It's one of them. I mean, I had a lot of reasons, but yeah, he's a very blue collar guy.
Yeah, I've seen interviews with him. He's I mean, one of my well, I know it's a play, but I really love the movie version of Glengarry Glen Ross. So
love that show, love that movie.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta act. Yeah, I guess.
But he's so.
But I've noticed he has a lot of really interesting opinions, not just about acting, but also just dramatic storytelling in general.
But that's a guy who also thinks everything you ever need is right there in the text. Don't change it. Don't change a syllable. It's music. It's written a certain way for a certain reason. Don't paraphrase. Don't ad lib. Every answer is here for you. And he's a lunch pail guy. Show up, be ready, be prepared, be open emotionally, all those ways we were talking about, and go to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'll push back a little bit on what you said. I do think that people who spend time coming up with like backstories or whatever for the characters, I think that can add a certain flavor to their work.
Absolutely, 100%.
I know Matthew McConaughey did that with Rust Cole.
A lot of amazing actors do it. I've never done it.
Now, I'm not saying that's like the way to do it or anything. I'm not saying like you're wrong or anything, but I didn't want to point out.
Right, there's no wrong.
I don't think you were saying like that's a wrong way to do it. I know you're.
No, there's not. I'm saying like so many amazing performers turn in amazing performances that way, and that's how they should turn them in. You have to do whatever it is that allows you to do what you're doing, and there's a million different ways to do it. But if you want to talk about how I do it and how I was trained, I spend the time differently than writing backstory. Some people
you say the lines.
Yeah. Some people would always think it's worthwhile doing all those exercises and that backstory, and that opens a lock for them and allows them to do what they need to do. So that's exactly the tool they should have in their box. Everyone, you spend a career, you spend a lifetime adding tools to your box so you can pull them out and do what it is you need to do. There's no right, there's no wrong. Everybody just does it in different ways. That's where that word method comes up. There's no right method, there's no wrong method. There's just tons of different methods. Try them all and get to where what makes you comfortable and what tools you need in your box.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think there's kind of going back to my question, that I do think there can be a very unique power that comes from acting that I didn't quite realize. I'd read a bunch of reviews for a show called The Shield that I really enjoy. And a lot of the essays kind of go into kind of what they were going for with the storytelling, and he kind of mentioned it's like where the writer basically explained it's basically a play, but it's just with a bunch of hyper masculine cops, you know. And it's kind of interesting thinking about it because there are definitely shows I think are better constructed than The Shield, like like The Sopranos or Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's my favorite show of all time, so I'm obviously biased there, but there's something about that just visceral intensity of The Shield that particularly the ending of The Shield, which I think is right up there with Breaking Bad, is like one of the greatest endings to a television show of all time. But I get like a more visceral reaction out of it, and that's because it was specifically meant to be a drama, a something to be acted out. Kind of following that David Mamet, backstory is bullshit rule, because like there's not really a lot of explanation for why Vic and the crew are like that. Nothing like that. It's just what they do and how how it gets to where they are at towards the end. Which I think is kind of fascinating. I never really thought of it like that before. Because, as someone who, reads a lot, I'm more used to going into the character's psyche,
That's such a writer thing too, right?
I know.
Like, backstory is bullshit because I didn't write it, so it's not important. I'm not saying it's bullshit. Again, any performer that's
no. I mean, I'm just saying that's what David Mamet said. I'm just, it's something that I noticed. I'm like, I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it like that.
That was the way I was trained. Spend your time somewhere else. I was just trained to spend my time somewhere else. Other people that were trained a different way, a different method, if you want to call it that way. Great, man. It unlocked you. You go. You do it that way. But I think that is such an amazing writerly thing. Like, well, that's bullshit because you didn't put it on paper, Like,
yeah. Or, I had never thought of it like that before. So I was like, damn, like, I don't know what that has to do with acting, but I think that that's something I've noticed as why acting is unique as a storytelling tool.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to go through the, like Shakespeare, you don't know why Iago decided to ruin Othello's life. He just did it for shits and giggles for all we know.
You could go there. If you were hired to play Iago, which, let's face it, is one of the greatest roles of all time.
I think what's interesting about acting, you don't need that so much. You don't need to go into character psychology. You just you can judge them based on what they do.
Exactly, but you need to interpret enough to, like I say, you need to bring a life to it.
Well, I'm not saying that's completely meaningless, like psychology or anything in acting. I'm just saying I think it is unique in how you don't need the constant, even though in Shakespeare there's a lot of like, talking in monologues, which is kind of like, in a Joe Abercrombie novel where, you can just read what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. True. But it's like I do think it's important you bring your experience in your life to it. You're emotionally open and you start interpreting, well, if I'm the magic what if of putting myself in Iago's place, I will interpret. It's like, well, I think I'm giving Othello such a hard time because of X, Y, or Z. I will have those answers, scene by scene, line by line, beat by beat, moment by moment. I will have those answers for myself, because there's no other way I
Mhm.
can bring that top spin line by line I was talking about if you don't have those answers.
Yeah, I mean, I've
That's
heard.
part of all the pre-work you want to do.
I mean, I want to turn this into a conversation about Othello. I know it's been argued why Iago just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna ruin this guy's life. Like, there's people who think like it's because of just racism. You know, maybe it was just this guy. I've been in the army for so long, and this freaking guy just got above. Even though I've been doing this longer, I've been struggling, and this motherfucker got it before me. So
Right.
I'm gonna fuck with
And
this
you
guy
could
right
totally
back.
play it that you could play it that way and see if it works for you. See if
Hmm.
that works for you. And if you get in the middle of a scene, it's like, why is this not working? Then you might have to try something else. That's what rehearsals are all about.
But I guess that kind of leads me to my next question, which we already kind of talked about a little bit. Like, what do you think is so unique about being an actor as compared to like other creative professions, like being a writer or being an artist? Well, we're all artists in that way, but like being like an illustrator or being like a
Yeah.
designer of something.
Yeah. I mean, I do know for me, I don't know why it struck me. It was probably just going back to watching Jack Nicholson, Dustin Hoffman, and some others, and looking at the screen and going, I want to do that. And
Yeah,
it's probably just something as simple as I really can't give
you
a
like
better.
being other people. Is that it?
Um, I do. I find it fun. I find it enlightening. I find it moving. Um, I find it means a great deal to me in my everyday life, because
Mm-hmm.
I've walked in some other shoes at moments, and I try, so it might help me understand when I get into situations, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, no, I absolutely. But what I will say is, like, if I look at a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and when we did our theater company, we did a lot of unpublished plays. We worked with a lot of writers, and I
Wait a
look at
minute. Wait, do you still? I thought you still worked at the theater company. You not have it anymore?
no. This was years and years and years ago.
Wait, what do you do now?
I here and there do work.
Well, okay, that's a bit of a revelation. I didn't
Yeah,
expect
I do
that.
as little as possible at my age. That's my goal, Britton.
You're living the high life, man.
Yeah, I try. But when we work with writers, when we would work with amazing directors, when we work with scenic designers and painters, and I would see these people do like these mediums,
Mm-hmm.
I would be stunned and blown away. Oh my God, how do you do that? How do
Mm-hmm.
you accomplish that? That's a mystery to me. I'll go to a museum, and when Amy and I went to Paris and we went through some of the amazing
Been to
museums,
Paris. What haven't you done, man?
your jaw unhinges, and it's like, oh my God, how do they create this? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that way about acting. I'll watch a great performance, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll know in my heart, I'm not that good. I can't turn in a performance like that. I'm not that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll understand how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of mystery for the other mediums,
That's
because I
interesting
don't.
because, like, when I think of like reading or like watching a great performance, like it kind of reminds me of a line from The Prestige. People. This is about magic, but I kind of view it the same way about art in general. Like, I find the best artistic experiences when you can kind of shut that part of your brain off and be
Mm,
fooled by it, for lack of
mhm.
a better word.
Yeah, that's why I love a performance like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood,
Yeah.
because I'm not watching the work anymore.
Hmm.
Like, I'm just
You're just
watching
watching
that.
this really unhinged oil guy rant about
I'm watching that
milkshakes.
amazing performance, right? I drink your milkshake. I'm
Yeah.
watching that amazing performance. I'm not watching any more of how I think he did it or the
Hmm.
mechanics of it. It transcends and takes me to a different place. That's what I mean. I can't do that. I'm not that.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's like I like to watch basketball because I played a lot when I was a kid and I understand the game. You
Hmm.
know, so some of the mystery's gone from me, but when it's done on a level that transcends, like Glenn Ross,
Hmm.
Alan Arkin, Ed Harris, Al Pacino.
Hmm.
I mean, these when these people are working, class is in session.
I was about to
It
say, when
transcends.
he isn't yelling about asses, Al Pacino's fantastic. Though I do love Heat.
Jonathan Price,
I do
so
love
many
Heat.
great people. Yeah, so many
He is great in that movie.
amazing people in Glenn Ross. He was great in Heat too. Yeah.
That's probably my favorite, like, unhinged Al Pacino performances.
Oh, there's so many great ones. He gets unhinged a lot.
Um, my actual kind of, again, a little non sequitur, but actually my favorite Al Pacino performance is the first Godfather. I really love, like, my favorite scene in that movie is him in the diner about to kill those guys. Like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, like, this dude's amazing. And it was one of those, I was taken out of the moment. I'm like, this dude's about to freaking murder these guys.
And not unhinged at all, right?
No.
So subtle. Such a subtle, quiet performance. Those are the performances that, like I was saying, I'm blown away by other arts that I don't understand.
Or like Gandolfini, on
Right.
Sopranos. I'm like, yo, that's the guy. Like, I'm kind of scared of this dude.
Right. Like
Maybe not scared
I'll
of him,
never
but you're kind of like, holy
understand
crap, like that feels like that's a real guy right there.
Yeah. I'll never understand how you can paint a masterpiece. I'm the same way about those quiet, subtle performances. I'll never understand how Anthony Hopkins can do that. How the camera can be right here and nothing moves, but you feel everything, because I will never be that kind of performer. So that's still a mystery to me, like that is a mystery to me. That blows me away, that ability. So yeah, when Pacino did that when he was young, the quiet, subtle stuff is like, oh my God, I wish I could be still and quiet like that. I'm not a still, quiet, subtle guy.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love Heat, I love what's some other films. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Scarface, but it's a lot of fun to watch him just go crazy in that film.
Yeah. I mean, he has moments of Scent of a Woman. I mean, over and over again in performances.
But like, I find when I'm always fascinated with Pacino anyway, particularly as an actor, is when he can rein himself in, like in The Godfather, where like he's like very obsessed with control.
Any actor like that can be still, and that's why sometimes on film I can't watch myself. I don't like what I do. I've done so much more work on stage because I'm not subtle.
And that's I'm fine. Not quiet. I enjoy me a good old fashioned, unsubtle performance. Like, I don't know
what I do. I'll make sure the back rows can see and hear.
I was about to say, I don't know if like Daniel Plainview is a subtle character. I do think there are subtleties in the performance, but
but there are moments of not throwing bowling balls and such.
Poor Paul Dano. He always gets like, like it. How like Sean Bean always gets killed in a lot of his movies. Like Paul Dano just gets his ass beaten in a lot of his movies. Like
he does.
Poor guy. He's a glutton for punishment, I guess. Though I know a lot of it's effects as well.
I think there was. I think he suffered a couple smacks in There Will Be Blood.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when like he asks for money and and Daniel just has enough of his crap and just starts slapping him and like rubs him in the mud, very primal.
Yes, very primal.
Which, again, I don't want to nerd out too much about There Will Be Blood, because it's like I love that movie, but
me too. Everyone go watch it.
It's a great film. Yeah, go see it. But yeah, I mean, I kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about why I kind of, it really clicked for me recently, which is kind of sad for me to say because I've watched a bunch of movies. I can't say I'm like a theater aficionado, unfortunately, but I've watched a lot of movies. So like I have an idea of acting, if you will.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing that, again, how I was saying, no one taught me auditioning. So say you're auditioning for a movie or a television show. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you want to be ready. You want to be prepared. You want to have your sides pretty well memorized. Maybe doesn't look like all the way memorized. Mm-hmm. And you want to have choices. You want them to be bold. You want to stand out. You don't want to look like the other 75 people in the waiting room, right? But if you're doing a TV or film job and you have all those choices that you may want to try and you may want to do, right before you walk in that room, you have to tell yourself, okay, I've got all these choices. They're bold. I'm fully committed. I'm ready to go. I've done my prep work. And right before you walk in, you have to tell yourself, all right, now do nothing. Mm-hmm. Do nothing. Because if you go in with all that, on this line is where I wanted to do something, they're going to look at you and go, dude, you're not a TV film actor. You're never going to get that job. So if it's TV film, you have to shut all that down and just live it, just think it. Whatever those choices are, they better be internal. You better do nothing. You better show them nothing. You better just be, because it's a camera medium,
That's
and you
funny.
better shut all
That
that
actually
down.
reminds me of another quote I read. It's called what's it? It's something like reveal nothing, deny nothing. I don't know who said it, but it kind of reminds me a little of that when you said that.
Yeah.
But again, I think kind of, and again, this is like a recent revelation. You know, I was on the mountain and God was like, "Here you go, my son." And I was like, "Oh, this is what it means," you know. But I think what's interesting is that like there isn't like, however you perform a character in like a theater or in a film, that's entirely up to you. You know, it's not like a book where you can like get into, though many great films have been made from books. You know.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes that's why people are disappointed, because they had a vision in their head of that character from the book.
Yeah.
And then we hire an actor that might have a totally different interpretation or vision in their head of what that character is, as will the director, as will, the screenwriter. Maybe
That's happened with me when I've watched movies before seeing the book. You know, I read L.A. Confidential after watching the movie, and I can't for the life of me not see the characters of Ed Exley and Bud White without seeing Guy Pearce and Russell Crowe, because they were just so brilliant in that movie. Now, Kevin Spacey, I mean, you know, I won't go into the rabbit hole of Kevin Spacey, but I generally enjoy his acting. But I don't see him as Jack Vincennes when I read the book.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't see it.
But if you saw him first, then you probably
even though I saw the movie before I read the book. So
you still didn't.
Yeah, I still didn't. Which, you know, nothing against like Spacey's acting choices. He's really good in that film, but you know, it's interesting how that works. I mean, I don't want to, you know, bring up books too much in this, but you know, I think what's unique is that like whatever you choose to do, like that kind of goes into the character, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I guess kind of brings me to my next question, which we're already at the penultimate question here. I'm kind of surprised how quickly we've been moving. But like, in what ways can acting enhance or alter the narrative impact of a story? Or I should probably just say of a story. You can tell Grok kind of helped me with that one.
Yeah.
Probably should have gotten rid of narrative impact there.
Great question, Grok. Here's, like I said, when we did our theater company, we did unpublished material. And so we worked with a lot of writers, because this might be the first or second or third time it had been staged, right? At all. And they want to know how it plays to an audience. They want to get that feedback. They want to understand, and maybe then go back and change some things or refine some things. So that's what's so amazing in a collaborative art form, is like you can slave away, and you know what it's like. You say you wrote a book.
Yeah.
You can slave away at this story.
I mean, I love doing it, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, and you got to pour yourself into it. You got to you do all this stuff. But then if it's a collaborative art form, you pass that on to writers and directors who are going to bring a life and experience to it. And they might see something about these characters. They might see something about this moment. They might see something in this line that you, from your experience, didn't see.
You know what? I can see now why you wrote Discovery with Amy and Jacob. That I can see that kind of.
Yeah, it's completely like that.
I don't know how to describe
We will get
that.
pages.
Yeah.
We pass pages around, and it's like, oh, I always saw the character more like this, and then you go off on a rant, and that rant either lands and they see it or they don't, and then you're shot down. But in that, actors and directors in theater, which are kind of your interpretive levels with that script that you get from the writer, they bring in so much. A totally different way to look at it, a totally different way to interpret it. Like, what is he really saying? And see, I'll spend more time there than I do about a backstory. I'll spend line by line. What is he thinking? What is he really saying with these words? Just because these words say this doesn't mean that's what he's really thinking or saying with these words. They could come across a whole different way. So all of that, the writer may not have seen it. And when you're working in unpublished, the writer might be there during rehearsal, and then they'll come up and say, oh, wow, that's way off base of what I had in mind. Or they're like, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. I might even tinker with this and change it a little bit. You know what? If you had some freedom, next time you run the scene, forget about the lines, just what else comes out. And they might change the lines. If
Mm-hmm.
you just have a great intention and just start ad-libbing, that might end up in the script. Because you had a whole different way of seeing it, a whole different interpretation, a whole different way of playing that moment in the scene that the writer didn't see when they were just them and a piece of paper or a screen. However they were writing. Happens a lot.
Yeah, I think it's also like I think there's also like the I think empathy also plays a role into it. Which I mean, you
Sure.
could say that with any art form, but I think acting is unique because like we were talking about earlier, you really can become like different people in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
You're
do
pretending to
think,
be somebody else.
yeah, that's so true. That's a really great observation because there's a lot about it that I find myself watching people a lot because you want to understand and pick up things if I'm called to do something in a script that I would never do. I want to have some type of frame of reference so I can come at it. So I'm always watching people. I'm always watching myself. That's a really interesting part about it. Actors will say, "Oh, we're people watchers. We watch people all the time." You know what? We're also standing outside ourselves all the time. Like,
That type of phrase always drives me nuts. It's like when writers go like, "Oh, the characters, they just took the story. Yep, it
yeah,
wasn't all just me." I used to hate that.
but it happens
I
though.
wrote my book. It freaking
It,
happened.
it
It
happens,
happened.
right? It's crazy.
I used to
It's
think that was
crazy.
like such pretentious writer crap. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
no,
But
that shit's true. That
I've
is
been in
true.
high drama moments of my life. Like I've been living a like not a great moment of my life. And there'll be a part of my brain that's disconnected and watching it going, "Oh, the way you're reacting, the way this is happening right now, you better file this away because someday you could use this on stage." And that part of my brain is always going. Even when I'm in the middle of some kind of deep dark crisis, that part of my brain is still cataloging like what I'm doing and how I'm getting through it and how I'm reacting because I might be called to do it someday.
I guess that's kind of a little mini question I'll throw in as well. Like, what's the hardest part of acting for you?
Mm.
Because I know for me, I luckily didn't have much opportunity for this, but like I always kind of struggle with like doing like big emotional stuff. Not because I'm like super stoic or anything. It's just like it's freaking hard, man, to like get
Yeah,
super angry or like cry.
I didn't have an issue with that. My problem was always being still and subtle and stoic and still
I
interesting.
should have noted that from earlier when you said I'm not
When
subtle.
yeah, when those are the hardest things for me. Like I will never get that role. I'll never get that job. A Sir Anthony Hopkins job where like he can just be
You
and
won't be like in a
everyone's
movie about like a like super sad guy who like lives by himself in a house. He like doesn't talk to a lot of people. Like, would you not find yourself playing that kind of role?
I would probably never get hired for that because that sounds like a very quiet, understated, subtle performance and that is not what I generally turn in.
It's not yeah, I was about to say that's I mean, I could see that. Yeah, it's like I mean, I don't know, like I have a hard time with like more extreme stuff actually cuz like,
Yeah, no.
it's hard getting angry, you know.
I can go to extremes.
That, somehow that doesn't surprise me.
That was never my problem.
um yeah, no, it's yeah, but kind of going back to like how it can enhance. It's interesting that like with acting you literally can become other people in a way. Which I know
You
is
do
probably
get
not like a profound revelation. Like this is
no, it
probably like
is.
acting 101, but like,
Yeah, no, it can be very profound when it happens. Like I know I have moments where when we were doing a theater company on and I was producing artistic director and I my one of my jobs was to choose all the shows of a season. And I would sometimes choose shows that by inhabiting these other people, I could figure things out in my own life, you know?
mhm.
Um, it's absolutely a part of it, no doubt.
Yeah, it's I mean, Well, I mean, I have like read and seen Shakespeare, so I guess I have seen some theater performances. I really like Shakespeare, so
As do I.
I don't know. It was kind of funny how that happened because like I finally because one of my teachers who was a really good drama teacher, she was kind of like, okay, so here's what Shakespeare actually does. Like it was that moment where I was like, oh, Shakespeare's actually awesome, you know? Like I don't
Oh
know if you
yeah.
had that moment, but
Oh
I don't know
man,
when
you
that
got to
moment
have
happened for you, but like
that's a great teacher. Yeah, that's a great teacher.
or I don't know if it happened for everyone else in the class, but it did for me. I was like, whoa, this Shakespeare guy, he's not playing. Like he knows what he's
Dude,
doing.
he would do. I mean, Shakespeare does some awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Like get like a banger monologue. He'll bang one out.
oh yeah, man, monologues, love stories, ghost stories, stories about fairy. I mean, the deepest, darkest, depraved stories, stories about war, like any whatever story you like, he did it.
Yeah. And like and also he you know basically influenced everything that came after that.
You can't again, whatever story you like, he did it.
Yeah.
So if you like that story and you're reading the contemporary versions of them, chances are you're seeing some reflections and shades from what he did back there,
Yeah,
in the
it's
1600s.
yeah, it's but yeah, I think like what makes them powerful again is that they are acted in a way. I don't know.
It's
Which kind of brings me back to like what is so unique about acting as a an art form.
I mean, you get to see a life lived in a heightened sense of reality in a compressed amount of
Mm-hmm.
time. Like so we started off talking about Chekhov, right? And this was
Uh-huh.
in Russia.
Yeah.
If you look at our own theater history timeline in this country, kind of like it all revolutionary things changed with Arthur Miller. And we started seeing things like A View from a Bridge and
I really like the
um,
Crucible.
The Crucible. You started seeing lives lived, not a stylized performance,
So you're like
lives
you're
lived.
so like you were taught like more like the like naturalistic type of kind of acting, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. I was taught, if you want to call it, more outside in. What's my body doing physicality wise? What am I doing? As opposed from inside out. Like some of the other things you're thinking about of writing a backstory. Where am I emotionally? Where am I in my history of my timeline of this character? That's working inside out.
Mm.
I'm starting, everything's inside and it will permeate outside. And I was kind of taught more in a physical way of this character. Is he a cerebral character? What would his physical center be? Maybe I lead with my forehead because I'm, the first thing that's going to come into a room when I make an entrance is going to be my forehead because I'm a cerebral character. So my physical center is going to be my forehead. Maybe it's my chest. Maybe. So I always was trained physicality outside in. And these choices you make with the type of shape your physical being takes will start to enhance and move your choices emotionally and intellectually into the place where you need to be. So it's just this different ways of doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a interesting point for sure. I lost track of what I was gonna say.
But I always thought outside in. Like what kind of shoes am I going to wear during a performance? What kind of clothes? How does that make me move? How does that make me stand? What does that
Yeah,
say about
that's
all that kind of stuff?
oh, okay. Now I remember that. Well, one, I actually read somewhere Anthony Hawkins, or what am I talking about? Anthony Hopkins. You mentioned him earlier. I have heard him say like sometimes when he takes a role, he first thinks about like how does a character walk, you know.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. You said that.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a physicality if you start outside and then move in, the physicality becomes very important.
Yeah, I guess I've heard people, I've talked with people before about like, there are parts in books or movies or whatever when a character reveals something about themselves that like they didn't even know was there. I never really knew what that meant until I've seen like great performances like ones we've talked about like, Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood. or even going back to David Mamet. I really love Jack Lemmon in that movie. I think Jack Lemmon is
so good.
He's just like he's such a sleazy dude, but I feel sorry for this guy. Especially when sleazy. Kevin Spacey just like rips into him. You're like, yeah, he deserves to go down for that, but like, damn, dude, like.
He's not I don't see him as sleazy at all. Like, he's just a guy, probably has a wife that he loves and some grandkids. He's just trying to provide. He's just trying to do what he's always done that will allow him to bring that paycheck home and get by day to day, kind of like Death of a Salesman, if you look at it that way. And times are changing. Capitalism is moving on. Expectations are growing at a rate that he can't keep up with anymore.
Well, one thing I kind of like about that is that like Lemon in that movie seems like fed up, He
can't keep up.
Even though they're all angry. Like they're all angry in the movie.
They're all angry. Yeah.
Like there's a lot of great chewing out scenes in that movie. Or at least the movie version. I don't know about the play, but actually
there's a lot. There's a lot in the play too.
I've seen actually, no, I have seen a stage performance of it, and then I was like, "Dang, it's not like the movie, though." I think the movie kind of ruined it for me.
It's a little different. A lot of it's there, though. A lot of it's there.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, it's like, man, like even though like this character is kind of, I don't know, kind of, because like people tend to demonize salespeople. And they are kind of actors as well, in a sense, interestingly enough, which I guess it wasn't an accident that Mamet chose like salespeople to,
or Arthur Miller with Death of a Salesman. Yeah.
Yeah. But you still like feel bad for him, even though
you completely feel bad for him because I recognize myself in him. Like I've gotten to the point now in my life where I can't keep up. Things move faster. I don't understand the phone that I keep in my own pocket. Like, I don't know I can't use all that. I don't know how all that works. Like I completely empathize and relate and connect with that character. Mm-hmm. I could play the heck out of that character right now. Now I couldn't have years earlier because, I was a little bit more full of myself and thought I could keep up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if I could play, what's the guy's name? I think it's Shelley the Machine Levine or Levine or something like that.
The Machine Levine.
Yeah. And and I watch him in that, and then I watch something like Some Like It Hot. I saw that a few years ago, which is like a classic comedy. And I don't know, there's just something about that kind of heightened 50s comedy that it didn't resonate as much with me. Which it could be just because I'm a young whippersnapper, and
No, you're pointing out exactly what I'm talking about here. You're talking about two different points in the theater history timeline of what performance was and the style of it. You're talking about
there's old movies I love, like 12 Angry Men. Love that film, even though it's just 12 angry guys. Well, not all of them are angry, but some of them are.
And that came after these revolutions we're talking about. Arthur Miller, Chekhov, these kind of moves to more of a life lived, peering through a window for the audience type of thing. 12 Angry Men came after, and as did Some Like It Hot. But there's certain forms like the Hollywood comedy, the Busby Berkeley musical. There's certain forms that held on to their stylistically performance styles and trappings longer than others, longer than drama. Drama was moved much quicker.
I see what you mean. Okay, I get what you mean. I was about to say, I will admit, I am a young whippersnapper. I know that came out in the 50s, so maybe it's just not me appreciating it like I probably should. But like, there's parts of the movie where it kind of took me out a little bit. I'm like, but I know Lemon can do it because I saw Glenn Ross. He's amazing in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
And I've also seen stuff like Sunset Boulevard. And I'm like, okay, this is it is heightened for sure, but like
it's heightened.
It feels more believable to me.
It does. The performances are more believable, but again, you're looking at noir. You're looking at more of a drama.
That's true. Yeah,
conflict-driven story, right?
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to comedy, let's look at comedies. Let's look at comedies through TV film. A lot of that history passes through vaudeville and things like that. So there were certain styles. There were certain rhythms.
There's a lot of great like comedies I love. Like oh god, like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I don't know if that's like an acting masterpiece, but A lot of it is just here's all this Arthurian stuff. Here's all this. We're just gonna make fun of it. Looks like absolute crap, but we're gonna. I love Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Even though I will say I think Life of Brian is a better movie, I find Holy Grail more entertaining because
I like Holy Grail a lot. I like Life of Brian a lot too. But there's two different styles. Like here's a young group of, like you're saying, here's a young group of whippersnappers that are changing comedy because they're performing their comedy like they're performing a drama.
Mm-hmm.
They're not playing the gag. They're not playing the bit. They're just playing the characters, right? Whereas some Like It Hot, they're still doing the styles and trappings of vaudeville where it's a set, pause, punch to get the gag, and all the styles are there.
Or even like Dr. Strangelove, which is also a very over-the-top movie. I love, that's... You know what my favorite type of performance or kind of whatever piece of art is? It's the one that catches you off guard. And kind of cutting it to Dr. Strangelove. Like, George C. Scott is usually known for, like, these, like, super, like, intense, like... He's the kind of guy you get to play, like, a grizzled, like, noir detective, like, gets up in your face, He is hilarious in that movie.
But why is he hilarious? Because he's playing that character.
Well, yes, but also
playing.
There's also the fact Kubrick kind of tricked him into get a better, more over the top performance out of him. But he's amazing in that film.
But he's playing that character. They cast him to play that exact character. So as a baseline, he's going to come in and not play the bit. He's going to play the part. And then you juxtapose him with comedic geniuses like Peter Sellers, who not only understands the basic rhythms of comedy, the set, pause, punch, the three stage build, and all that kind of stuff, but also he understands playing the character, and he understands commitment. You will never find Peter Sellers not fully
Sellers is also in Dr. Strangelove. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Sellers is. But when George C. Scott starts screaming about you can't let them in here, they'll see the big board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same.
One of my favorite parts is which was completely an accident. I really love stuff like this, like in Indiana Jones when Harrison Ford's like, "Can I just shoot the guy and we can just wrap up here?" And Spielberg's like, "Yeah, awesome, let's do that."
Yeah,
but
what a great moment.
There's that scene in Dr. Strangelove where he's like ranting, falls down, gets up, and keeps going. That was an accident, and I guess Kubrick liked it so much, he's like, "All right, let's go with it."
Yeah. That's such a great flick, man. That is such a great flick. I
love Dr. Strangelove. But
because you got talk about acting, you have styles colliding in that, right?
And also a guy literally riding a frickin' nuclear bomb like a horse, and I'm like, that is objectively stupid, but it is so good.
That performance by Slim Pickens never plays the gag, never completely just plays the character like he was in a drama.
It felt like they were trying to be funny.
They're playing the gag. They're playing bit to bit, and they're playing the gags as opposed to just being the character and letting, again, the script. If you trust your script and it's funny, you don't have to play the gags. You don't have to go bit to bit. You could just play the character, and it's all going to be
more
there.
like Tropic Thunder, which is a more modern example, but like Robert Downey Jr. is hilarious in that movie. That's actually one of my favorite comedic performances of all time. Well, aside from Tom Cruise's Les Grossman.
Oh, that's so good. But look they're completely subsumed and playing that character. They never come out. It's like they're not playing gags. They're playing characters.
Yeah, and I mean,
and the situation is so nuts crazy. It takes care of itself.
Yeah, and that's why I always defend Tom Cruise. I'm like, he can act. Watch Tropic Thunder. He is hilarious in that film.
I mean, for film acting, he understands acting for the camera at a super high level. He knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. And he's doing it very well.
But but we do have the last question here, which is probably going to be the most personal one here. So this I wanted to give you. Well, it's not really a softball because it's an open question. But what is your favorite part of acting?
My favorite part of acting is when it works, and it's so rare and it's so fleeting. I kind of said it before. Like I've had these moments on stage, even on camera a time or two. And I have that moment and it's like, I just nailed that. I felt that all the way through me down to my toes. I absolutely nailed that. And then that thought in and of itself ruins it, because now I'm not there anymore. I'm actively thinking about how I nailed it. And then I have to fight to get back. And it's those moments where I have that feeling. It's those moments that I have where it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It's drug-like. It's an addiction. You'll do anything to get that moment back again. It might take you years to get back there, of classes and roles, but you'll do anything to get back to that moment. It is that moment. I was always in search of those moments. But oddly enough, any great theater story you ever hear, it's about when everything went wrong. Those moments those moments you're searching for and looking for and driving
I remember
for.
that's so funny you bring that up. I remember we were doing Annie in middle school, and one of us, kind of as a joke, said Macbeth instead of the Scottish play, just to see what would happen. And everyone was freaking out, about it. And there were some things that ended up going wrong, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because it brings back memories. But it kind of reminds me of, like, I've talked with people about, running D&D games, which is also an interesting case, which I'm kind of surprised you haven't played more D&D, because that's also kind of like, at its best anyway, or if you watch something like Critical Role, where it's literally voice actors going nuts, and they're insane. It's great. It is kind of like a form of drama in a way.
Oh, no doubt. It's role-playing. It's right there in the name. Role-playing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But anyway, what I was saying was, that's funny you say that, because it's kind of what a lot of friends of mine who have DM'd have said. Like, a lot of my favorite memories, even though I get sometimes frustrated because it goes against what I had hoped for, is when they don't go to the plan. When they don't stick to the plan.
Yeah, like the best theater stories are that night when somebody corpses or goes up and forgets their lines. Like, those are the best stories, when that stuff happens, when all the lights go out and you're standing on a dark stage. When somebody in the front row falls asleep and falls onto the playing area of the actors. Like, all of these things have happened, right, to me, and they're the best theater stories you could ever ask for, because they're not what the plan was. That's when the great stories happen.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that, because again, I've had a friend who has done both. He's done acting, or he calls it dramaturge, because he's one of those kind of, I don't want to say he's pretentious. He's a very brilliant man, but he likes big words, we'll just say. I'm like, why don't you just call it acting? But whatever.
Dramaturgy's
I guess I'm more of a
great.
I was about to say, I guess I'm more of a Hemingway. I'm like, just keep it simple.
I can see that.
But
I see it both ways.
But no, but yeah, it's funny you brought that up, because that makes me think of, D&D. Which again is kind of like a form of drama in a way.
For sure, yeah.
At its best, anyway. Sometimes you can kind of, sometimes it's just you goofing off with your friend, which that's great. That's great for that, And that's often some of the best parts are when you're just goofing off with your friends, as well.
I'm sure that's part of the allure.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's true. But yeah, I am probably going to eat dinner in about 40 minutes, but I know you said you had about an hour 15. We're about hour 13 in. But yeah, that's about it for what I had. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been great.
I hope I gave you some answers that work.
I
hope this is what you wanted.
I learned a lot of wisdom today. And I also wanted to have a good time. I was looking forward to this chat today.
Yeah. Well, I hope I had a great time. I hope
it was kind of funny, because we were going to do this 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh yeah. And then you're like, I have a stream I'm doing. I'm like, dang it. He's like, October 1st, let's do that. And I'm like, okay, all right. And I was looking forward to it. You're like, oh no, I had another stream again. I'm like, no.
I know. I had to reschedule on you 2 times, nephew, and there's no excuse. I completely
it's okay. It was just kind of like, you were teasing me a little bit,
I am so sorry. I hope it was as fun
you were tickling me a little bit. I was like, I want it.
I had a great time. I love talking about this stuff.
It was worth the wait. I had a blast.
Right,
usually is awesome when we hang out.
For sure.
But yeah, it's not really all I have to say. But before I go, as I like to do, social media, if you got it, whatever you do, feel free to share it.
Oh, I'm just here on YouTube, talking story. Check me out.
What is the other two? Okay. Well, yeah. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this. I definitely enjoyed talking about this subject, and I try not to just talk about books. I'm sure you do too, talking stories. So I thought this would be fitting for you.
Absolutely.
But we love all sorts of storytelling over here at Some Okie Do.
Absolutely
I know you
do.
do too. So
Absolutely
that worked
do.
out. But anyways,
The coolest thing is if you talk to another person that had done it, that's acted in one way, shape, or form of another.
also I couldn't
They
pass
have
up
totally
the
different answers.
Also, I couldn't pass up the opportunity, I should say.
Yeah. They'd have totally different answers. That's the coolest part of it. No one's right, no one's wrong. It's just how you can do it.
Mm-hmm. But John, really, thank you for joining me. I'm glad we could get this together. Despite the hurdles, despite the setbacks, it was well worth the wait.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me. It was the best.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Check out John's channel, like, comment, subscribe to all that fun stuff. It feels good,
It feels good.
It does. It does. Well, until next time, when I'll have you on again to talk about something else.
Who knows what?